The Islamic Golden Age was an extraordinary period of history. Spanning from roughly the 8th to the 14th century, it was a time when science, culture, and philosophy flourished across the Islamic world. While Europe was navigating the early Middle Ages, cities like Baghdad, Cordoba, and Bukhara were vibrant centers of learning. Scholars from diverse backgrounds gathered to translate, study, and expand upon the knowledge of ancient civilizations, from the Greeks to the Persians and Indians. This era wasn't just about preserving old ideas, it was about building something new, creating a powerhouse of intellectual discovery that would eventually light the way for the European Renaissance. It was a time of immense curiosity and progress. Into this world of incredible intellectual energy, a true giant was born. His name was Abu Ali al-Husayn ibn Abdullah ibn Sina, but to the West, he is known simply as Avicenna. Born in 980 near Bukhara, in what is now modern-day Uzbekistan, Avicenna was a prodigy of almost unbelievable talent. By the age of 10, he had memorized the entire Quran. By 16, he was a practicing physician, and by 18, his reputation as a brilliant doctor was already spreading far and wide. His life was one of constant movement, serving as a physician and advisor to various rulers, all while relentlessly pursuing knowledge in nearly every field imaginable. Avicenna was not just a physician, he was a polymath in the truest sense of the word. He wrote extensively on philosophy, astronomy, alchemy, geology, psychology, logic, mathematics, and even poetry. His mind seemed to have no limits. Imagine a single individual making groundbreaking contributions that would shape entire disciplines for the next 1,000 years. That was Avicenna. His autobiography tells of his tireless dedication to learning, often studying late into the night, grappling with complex texts like Aristotle's Metaphysics until he mastered them. This fusion of practical science and deep philosophical inquiry is what makes him such a compelling figure from this golden era. His environment was crucial to his development. The Samanid court in Bukhara, where he spent his youth, had one of the finest libraries in the world. Avicenna was given access to this treasure trove of knowledge, allowing him to absorb centuries of human thought at a rapid pace. This context of scholarly support and intellectual freedom, a hallmark of the Islamic Golden Age, provided the perfect fertile ground for a mind like his to grow. He stood on the shoulders of giants, but he saw further than almost anyone before him, creating a synthesis of ideas that would echo through history and cross the boundaries of culture and religion. When we talk about Avicenna's contributions, one work stands above all others, Al-Qanun fil Tib, or the Canon of Medicine. This was not just another medical textbook, it was a colossal encyclopedia that systematically organized all medical knowledge of the time. Completed around the year 1025, the Canon was a 5-volume masterpiece that covered everything from the basic principles of medicine and anatomy to detailed descriptions of specific diseases and a vast pharmacopoeia of drugs and remedies. Its logical structure and comprehensive scope were revolutionary. For the first time, doctors had a single, authoritative reference for their practice, making medicine more systematic and less reliant on scattered, inconsistent traditions. The genius of the Canon lay in its methodical approach. Avicenna integrated the theories of the Greek physician Galen with his own clinical observations and the medical knowledge of the Persian and Indian traditions. He was a pioneer in advocating for evidence-based medicine. For instance, he outlined rules for testing the effectiveness of new drugs, including the idea that a drug must be tested on a human subject and be found to consistently cure a specific disease. This was an early, rudimentary form of the clinical trials we rely on today. He also explored concepts like the contagious nature of diseases, such as tuberculosis, and the role of quarantine in preventing their spread. The Canon's influence was monumental and long-lasting. After it was translated into Latin in the 12th century, it became the standard medical textbook in European universities for over 600 years. Medical students from Paris to Padua studied Avicenna's words as gospel. and his authority was second only to the ancient Greeks. The book provided a complete curriculum, covering topics from the importance of diet and climate on health to complex surgical procedures. Its detailed illustrations of anatomical structures and surgical instruments were invaluable learning tools for generations of physicians who lacked the means to perform dissections. It essentially became the Bible of medicine in both the Islamic world and Europe. Even today, looking back at the canon reveals Avicenna's incredible foresight. He discussed the intimate connection between emotional well-being and physical health, a concept we now call psychosomatic medicine. He described conditions like meningitis, tetanus, and various skin diseases with astonishing accuracy. He understood that water and soil could transmit diseases, a fundamental principle of public health. While much of the canon is now outdated by modern science, its emphasis on systematic observation, logical diagnosis, and the holistic treatment of the patient remains a cornerstone of good medical practice. Avicenna didn't just write a book, he built the very foundation of modern medicine. Beyond his medical genius, Avicenna was a profound philosopher who wrestled with the biggest questions of existence. One of his most famous ideas is the distinction between essence and existence. Think of it this way. You can understand the essence of a unicorn, what it is, a horse with a single horn, without it actually existing in the real world. For Avicenna, the essence of a thing, its whatness, does not guarantee its existence. Everything in the universe, from a rock to a human being, is a contingent being. This means it needs an external cause to bring it into existence. This chain of causes cannot go on forever. It must lead back to one ultimate source. This leads to his proof for the existence of God, whom he called the necessary existent. Unlike everything else in the universe, God's essence is existence. God does not need a cause to exist, God simply is. This necessary existent is the first cause, the ultimate reality from which everything else flows. This was a powerful philosophical argument that blended the logical reasoning of Aristotle with the monotheistic principles of Islam. It provided a rational framework for belief, showing how the world we see around us points to a single, uncaused creator. This idea had a massive impact on later Jewish, Christian, and Islamic theologians, including Thomas Aquinas. Avicenna also had fascinating ideas about the human soul. He developed a famous thought experiment known as the floating man. He asks you to imagine a person created in mid-air, blindfolded, with limbs separated so they cannot touch anything, not even their own body. This person would have no sensory experience of the outside world or even their own physical form. Yet, Avicenna argued, this floating man would still be aware of his own existence. He would think, I am. This proves for Avicenna that the soul, or consciousness, is a substance separate from the body. It does not depend on the body to know that it exists. This concept of the soul as an independent, immortal substance was a powerful synthesis of Aristotelian thought and Islamic doctrine. For Aristotle, the soul was the form of the body and could not exist without it. Avicenna modified this, arguing that the rational soul is immaterial and survives the death of the body. He believed the soul's ultimate purpose is to strive for knowledge and connect with the divine intelligence that governs the universe. His exploration of consciousness, self-awareness, and the mind-body problem laid the groundwork for centuries of philosophical debate, influencing thinkers like René Descartes and his famous statement, "I think, therefore I am." Avicenna's influence was not confined to one time or place. It flowed across continents and cultures, creating a legacy that is truly global. In the Islamic world, he became known as Al-Sheikh al-Rais, the Chief Master. His philosophical works, particularly his synthesis of Aristotelian logic with Islamic theology, became the dominant school of thought for centuries. Philosophers and theologians who came after him, like Al-Ghazali and Averroes, had to engage with his ideas, either by building on them or by challenging them. His writings on logic and metaphysics became standard texts in madrasas, shaping the intellectual landscape of the East for generations. When his works were translated into Latin, starting in the 12th century, Avicenna sparked an intellectual revolution in Europe. His canon of medicine, as we've seen, became the undisputed medical authority. But his philosophical ideas were just as impactful. European scholastic philosophers, such as Albertus Magnus and Thomas Aquinas, were deeply influenced by his metaphysical concepts. Aquinas, one of the most important thinkers in the Catholic Church, adopted and adapted Avicenna's distinction between essence and existence to formulate his own arguments for the existence of God. Avicennism became a recognized philosophical movement in medieval Europe, demonstrating his profound reach. The sheer breadth of his influence is staggering. He was a bridge between civilizations. He took the wisdom of the ancient Greeks, refined it through the lens of the Islamic Golden Age, and passed it on to medieval Europe, where it helped fuel the Renaissance. Thinkers in the East and West read him, debated him, and learned from him. His ability to blend rigorous scientific observation with deep philosophical inquiry meant he had something to offer everyone. He showed that faith and reason were not enemies, but could work together to unlock the secrets of the universe and the human condition. Even today, in the 21st century, Avicenna's work remains relevant. His inquiries into the nature of consciousness and the mind-body problem are still central questions in philosophy and neuroscience. His emphasis on evidence and systematic methodology in science is a principle that every modern researcher lives by. Avicenna reminds us that great leaps in human understanding often come from individuals who are willing to cross disciplinary boundaries, to be both a scientist and a philosopher, a physician and a poet. He stands as a timeless symbol of the power of human curiosity and the unifying quest for knowledge.